Luke, good to see you. Let's start with Trump's continued racially charged attacks on Nikki Haley using these racist dog whistles on Truth Social Friday. Just yesterday, Trump again, he mocked Nikki Haley's birth name, misspelling it, obviously intentionally referring to her several times as Nimbra, not Nimarata, which was her birth name. Last week, Trump asserted also that she is ineligible, falsely, to run for the presidency because her parents were not citizens. But as you know, Haley was born in South Carolina. She is a U.S. citizen, so per the Constitution, she is eligible to run. Obviously, echoes of Trump's birther playbook that he used against Obama. Is this a missed opportunity for Nikki Haley not to call out Trump's attacks as racist, even as she insists that America has never been a racist country?
Yeah, I mean, she's walking a fine line here because she has to weigh all these factors of not offending the Republican base, which still loves Trump very much. But you're right that these are racist remarks, and it's not out of character for Donald Trump to make racist remarks. He launched his foray into politics with the racist birther theory and has continued to make similar statements over the years. But for Nikki Haley to come out and fight him on the issue of race may not be the winning issue in the Republican primary, and so she's been reticent here. Should she take him on more directly? At some point, she probably has to if she wants to win this nomination. But right now, she's trying to win it without offending his most ardent supporters.
So Trump and Nikki Haley, obviously in New Hampshire, Ron DeSantis, as you mentioned, skipping New Hampshire for now and campaigning in South Carolina today. But as you've been seeing, I mean, Trump is focusing most of his attacks on Nikki Haley. I want you to listen to Trump in Concord, New Hampshire yesterday when he thought he was bashing Nikki Haley. Looks like he got her confused with Nancy Pelosi. Listen.
By the way, they never report the crowd on January 6th. Nikki Haley, did you know they destroyed all of the information, all of the evidence, everything, deleted and destroyed all of it, because of lots of things. Like Nikki Haley is in charge of security. We offered her 10,000 people, soldiers, National Guard, so whatever they want. They turned it down.
Okay, a lot of erroneous information there, including the falsehood that the Speaker of the House does not have the authority to turn away troops. And Nancy Pelosi has explicitly stated that 10,000 troops were never offered to her on January 6th. But that's besides the point. Is any of Trump's supporters, are they noticing these gaffes, especially, as Trump, who is 77 years old, has attacked Biden, who's 81, as being too old and mentally unfit. And here he is mixing up Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley.
Yeah, and I think also that we should mention that it's not true that the January 6th committee destroyed all the evidence. That's just not true. It's all archived online for people to read. And it's also not true that Nancy Pelosi single-handedly turned down the National Guard. There's been lots of congressional testimony on that as well. But you're right that, look, confusing two very prominent women, if Joe Biden did that, you'd probably never hear the end of it. But here we have Trump doing it, and will people look at that and say, well, Trump's slipping, he's getting too old, which is what the constant criticism is of Joe Biden? Or will people just say, that's Trump, he's always saying things that are kind of crazy and kind of wrong, and that's just baked in? I have not heard concerns from congressional Republicans about Trump getting too old. They're in lockstep with him. They're fully behind him. That said, you are seeing, I think, more and more instances of Donald Trump showing his age in the same way that the criticism is of Joe Biden.
What is your take, Luke, on Senator Tim Scott of Nikki Haley's home state endorsing Trump on Friday? We know that she even called Tim Scott, Nikki Haley called Tim Scott, seeking his endorsement, according to sources. Obviously, quite a betrayal because she obviously named him to his seat in 2012. But what is also Tim Scott's calculus here?
Yeah, I mean, Tim Scott is usually people endorse someone because they want to be with the winner, right? And so he clearly sees Donald Trump's up in all the polls, even the polls where Nikki Haley is doing the strongest, right? She's supposed to be strong in New Hampshire and South Carolina. Well, Donald Trump's still beating her in those states. And if Tim Scott wants to be a potential vice presidential candidate, he's got to get with Donald Trump earlier, and he's got to give him his full-throated support. And that's what you just saw last night. Is his name now in the running to be a vice presidential candidate? And clearly he thinks that the good money is on Donald Trump, not Nikki Haley.
And what are you looking for on Tuesday during the New Hampshire primary as this new Marist College poll shows it in a hypothetical matchup? Biden and Nikki Haley, there's no clear leader.
Yeah, when you talk to especially Senate Republicans, they will tell you that they believe Nikki Haley is the stronger general election candidate. In fact, the strongest of any of the Republicans in the field, and that she would beat Joe Biden. And they don't feel the same way about Donald Trump. They feel like Donald Trump is in risk of losing to Joe Biden during the general election. But so on this week, when New Hampshire is called for the vote, it will be a do or die situation for sort of that mainstream wing of the party. If Nikki Haley can beat Donald Trump, if she can even come close, they still have a chance to have a non-Trump candidate for the general election. But if it's a blowout, if Trump has destroyed Nikki Haley in New Hampshire and destroyed Ron DeSantis in Iowa, it's hard to see how anyone can keep going. And this is not just Donald Trump's nomination.
Yeah, it seems like it'll be the make or break contest on Tuesday. Luke Broadwater, appreciate it. Thanks so much.